I want to get back to my take and what I had to say about the migrant crisis in Europe. By the way, the US is going to accept 10,000 Syrian refugees, but these are people already in the pipeline, not those people who are now streaming into Europe. Joining me from the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, Zuhdi Jasser. Zuhdi, as always, welcome to the program. And on this particular day, it is a special day, it's 9/11, but I want you to address the European migrant crisis. I've just issued forth with an editorial which says Europe will be transformed and changed forever by this migration. Would you agree with that?
Well, it has been transformed by the migration of Muslims that have been part of a migration of, in the documentary I helped with in 2009 called The Third Jihad, where they want to transfer the ideology of political Islam fueled by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Iran, and all the Islamist interests of the OIC around the world. However, let me push back a little and tell you that as long as the West is the beacon of freedom, and the narrative is that as my family came seeking freedom away from the Baathists who were fueled by the Soviets in Syria and others, that narrative, the reason these migrants, most of them are not Islamists, most of them want freedom. They were trying to have a revolution. They come to the West. They're not going to Saudi Arabia. They're not going to Russia. They're not going to China. They're coming to the West. So we can't extinguish the beacon of freedom, but we have to be smart, as you said, Stuart, against radical Islam and political Islamist ideology.
What about the idea of establishing safe zones in Syria, for example, backed up by American military force, so that they don't have to flood into Europe? They can stay in Syria in relative safety, protected by America's military. That is an idea that's out there. What do you make of it?
Well, that's what I was saying from the beginning, from 2011, before there was ISIS. We said just have a no-fly zone to allow these people to stay, like the Tunisians stayed in Tunisia, like the Egyptians stayed with their revolutions. These people do not, our families don't want to leave Syria. They want to stay there and decimate their dictatorships and decimate ISIS so that they can have a free society and have a future. But they have no choice. There's a genocide happening by the Alawite Baathists against the Sunnis, and they have nowhere to go but to leave. The surrounding countries are burgeoning, so now they're coming to Europe, and this is continuing to see symptoms, be it the terror of ISIS, be it the discrimination and decimation of Christians and Yazidis and others. The next symptom is now the refugees that are coming to the West. Until we get rid of Assad and decimate ISIS, we're going to continue to see the unraveling of the world order in the Middle East.
Yes, sir. But how can Europe cope with 1 million refugees now, more to come? I mean, I don't think that they can truly cope with this. I think it'll break them apart. And I suspect that a lot of those people will want to come to the United States. Am I right?
You are, and you know, internally they're going to have to begin to embrace the fact that we have to separate between pro-freedom, pro-liberty Muslims and those that are Islamists, and begin to have a filter. We're embracing the wrong groups. We have no filter. The State Department says they can't tell. The French minister recently just said yesterday, you know what, we're going to start airstrikes against our enemies in Syria because we have to give these refugees a place to go back to, and we're not going to be able to keep them in Europe.
We can't discriminate one from another. We don't know who potential terrorists are. We know that they're coming, but we don't know who they are. And we don't know what's going to happen 5 years down the road. We just don't know.
Well, Stuart, we can't give up. That's surrender. And on this anniversary, the 14th anniversary of 9/11, I hope our country has the resolve, just like we did in the Cold War against communism, to say we can tell who the Islamists are that believe in an Islamic state, a Sharia state, versus those that believe in a secular national state based in freedom. That's not hard. I, as a Muslim, can tell in 10 minutes who's the jihadist versus those that are fighting for freedom. But we need a resolve as a country to identify political Islam as the ideology of our enemy.
Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, who served 11 years in the American Navy, I believe. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. We appreciate it. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Stuart.
Move on to Donald Trump, still taking heat for the comments he made.